Looks like my brother got a delivery today. These are the Radar Renegade RT. And looks like he got a 33 1250 R20. I like them though. They have two different sidewall designs. You have this one here, kind of looks like little skulls on there or something. But then you also have these, which I kind of like these the best. But you know, they're pretty nice looking tires. They've got siping. They've got alignment marks on them, or balancing marks rather. So they look like a pretty good tire. I think they'll work out nice. Look, they have the stepped grooves in the tread blocks, mud bars to eject the mud and the rocks. Not too bad for what you would consider to be an off-brand. They look like a pretty high quality tire. We'll see how these do through the winter time. It's a cold 20-degree start this morning, so I'm going to record this and kind of show you the behavior of this GDE transmission tuning when you're pulling out first thing in the morning. See how it's stuck in first gear? You can give it a lot of throttle and then it'll go to second gear, but once it goes to second gear, it stays here forever. And if you let off, it's kind of like a manual transmission in a way, because there's no smoothness. So you just kind of, if you're just like throttle, you know, using really light throttle, kind of feathering the throttle is what I was looking for there, it'll kind of jerk your head around a little bit. But see, even look at all that RPM it's given, and then it'll finally go to third if you go fast enough, you know, almost 20 miles an hour. It'll finally shift to third, but otherwise it stays in second gear forever. And of course the stock tune doesn't really do that. It gives you the same smoothness and shifting even if it's cold outside. So I kind of prefer that in the stock tune. Everything else is awesome about this GDE tune. I really love it. Out on the highway, it's a lot better. In every other condition, it's a lot better. I really like this tune a lot. But this early in the morning, cold start, low speed condition is the only complaint that I have with it. I mean, and it's not what you would call a problem with the tune. They did this on purpose to warm things up faster. And from what I understand, mainly for emissions. But I just, from a practicality standpoint and you know, just being in the driver's seat, I just don't like it. But like I said, I think they're going to tweak that a little bit, kind of smooth that out a little bit. Here's this long paved hill, and see, it's engine braking like crazy right now. It won't coast down this hill at all, which, you know, a lot of people would like that. I mean, you don't necessarily want to coast down a hill, so it saves the brakes a little bit, I guess, you know. But it's just very different, you know, if you've been driving the stock tune for a couple of years like me on these engines, it's just very, very different, hard to get used to. Now I'm back to pavement again, you know, like the main road, and once I'm on the main road, it's fine because it'll go ahead and upshift to third. There it goes to third gear at about 20 miles an hour, you know, and it's fine after that. So anyway, that's kind of what I was talking about. It's not an issue if you're aggressively driving it. It's not an issue out on the road. It's just more or less in the mornings when you're trying to get out of the neighborhood, or in my case, down that gravel lane, you know, and you're still halfway asleep and trying to wake up, and the truck's jerking you around and running too much RPM for a diesel, especially a cold diesel. I don't really like to do that myself, run a diesel at high RPM when the engine's cold. But anyway, my only complaint with it, everything else is super awesome, and I'm gonna have some more good data coming for you guys on this tune in the weeks to come, the days and the weeks to come. So stick around. For now, I gotta get to work and watch out for the white-tailed deer that like to jump in front of your truck this time in the morning. So we'll talk to you guys later. Well, after I get my breakfast here, I'm gonna go home and change the oil on this truck, send off a sample of this Quaker State oil. I've been promising guys I would show them that for, gosh, probably a year now. I'm finally getting around to it. You know, the problem was I had so much of that modal oil in stock in my garage, so I had to go through it first. But finally got through some of this Quaker State 5W40, which does have the proper spec on the bottle. You can see 10,324 miles, and I'm down to 20% on my oil life. Now, I changed the oil early, just about 5,000 miles. I think I had 4,900 and something, so I basically just called it 5,000 miles. I went ahead and did the first one, so 5,300 miles, actually a little bit more, say 5,400 miles, and I'm down to 20% oil life already. So that's evidence of how rough this oil cycle has been. A lot of that was towing that 24-foot trailer around, but some of it has been just high speed on the interstate going to Detroit in the cold weather last week and stuff like that. You know, your driving style definitely has a lot to do with the oil life. This thing is not just proportionately tied to the odometer. It actually does detect, you know, how you're driving the truck, and you know how you're using it, and your engine temperatures, your oil temperatures, all that stuff gets taken into consideration. So I went through the oil. I mean, I've got a little bit to go. I mean, I could run it on out to zero. I'd probably get maybe 6,500 miles on this, but it's a pretty nice day, so I'm just going to go ahead and proactively change it. I'm ready to send off a sample anyway. I'm kind of curious to see how this Quaker State oil is holding up. I did see it on the shelf at Walmart again yesterday, so they're still selling that Quaker State oil, $18.97 for a 5-quart jug with the proper spec on the bottle. It's by far the least expensive oil that you're going to find for a Gen 3 engine. So if I send off a sample and everything looks good, that'll prove that it's the best option out there. So when I get back to the house, I'll go ahead and do that, and then here in a few weeks I'll share the details with you. So it looks like I told you guys wrong. I was looking through my oil records here. I actually changed the oil the first time at 3,900 miles, not 4,900. So I've actually got over 6,000 miles on this particular oil cycle. So with that being said, 20% oil life remaining wasn't too terribly bad, but I went ahead and changed it anyway. So I'm going to update my documentation here. I keep all my receipts for oil and filters and everything. So yeah, make sure you do that. It's always baffled me why some people will go to the dealership and pay them $200 or $300 to change their oil. I mean, come on guys, it's like a 5 or 10 minute job on one of these Jeeps. You can get to the oil drain super easy. You can see I've put one of those Fumoto quick change valves on mine, so it makes it even easier. You literally just flip a lever, the oil drains out. And then while the oil's draining out, you can be working on your oil filter, which is right there. All you need is a 27 millimeter socket and a long extension. It's a top load filter, so there's no mess. It's easy to get to. Pop that thing out. When you put the new one in, make sure you seat it all the way. The torque spec is listed on the cap, but basically what I do is I just run it down until I know that it's all the way down. You don't want to over tighten it because it's plastic, but you can run it down till it's completely threaded so you don't have oil pressure issues, and you're ready to go. Again, you can do this whole oil change in literally 10 minutes, no joke. And like I said, the oil is $19 for a 5-quart jug, so you need 2 of those. So I mean, that's less than 40 bucks for your oil. You can buy this filter for $43 from dieselfiltersonline.com. So you're talking less than 100 bucks and 10 minutes of your time to do this at home. Just keep your receipts and you're good to go. You save a lot of money. You know it was done right. That's the way to go, guys. So now that that's done, I've got another project that I wasn't really planning on doing, but I guess I should. And that is taking the winch off of here temporarily. Reason why is because, like I told you guys, this engine unfortunately has the very common timing cover oil leak. Seems like all of these do that. I don't know why in the world the Europeans can't figure this out. It's not that difficult, guys. Come on. You can seal up an engine just like everybody else. Get it figured out. But anyway, they haven't figured it out yet, so I got to take it back to the dealership for another warranty repair on an oil leak. And the difference between the Ram and the Jeep is that the Jeep has absolutely no space. Very small, very cramped, very tight engine bay. They shoehorned this diesel engine in there. So on the Ram, you have like a couple of feet of just empty space here, and the technician had plenty of room to get down in there and do what he needed to do. You know, you got to take the fuel rails, injectors out, valve covers. All this stuff has to come off the engine so he can access the front timing cover. You know, it's a big job. In the Ram, it wasn't as bad because there's more space. In the Jeep, there's no space. So I'm guessing that they're gonna have to take the grill, radiator, intercooler, all this stuff out of the Jeep to have room to get to it. And they can't do that with this winch sitting in the way. So as bad as I hate it, I'm gonna have to take the winch out temporarily. Once the winch is out, then the rest of the process will be just like as if it was factory. I mean, you still got 8 bolts to take the bumper out if they need to, just like factory. You know, I don't want to give them any additional work, especially when it's aftermarket equipment. You know, I don't want to give them any reason to be upset. So I'm going to try to make this as easy and as much of a factory, you know, stock type of job as it can possibly be for them. I was looking at this to see if there was some way I could just disconnect it from the winch up here without having to remove all of my wiring, but it looks like it would be actually easier just to unhook it from the battery and snake all the wiring back out with the winch. So that's what I'm getting ready to do. It's really aggravating. None of this would be happening right now if they would build an engine that doesn't leak oil and mark its territory everywhere it goes. All right, so I got the winch off. It really wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. The main thing is just where it's got that switch that comes with the kit that you wire in line with the positive cable so you can kill power to it when you're not, you know, needing to use it. Well, that's kind of a pain because of the way that it's made. If you ever see one in person, you'll see what I'm talking about, but it's basically got those little bitty nuts and little bitty screws, and there's 4 of them, and just one side of it takes a hex socket, the other side is just a regular socket. You have to be an octopus to do it quickly, but that was the hardest part. After that, I just pulled the cables back through and unbolted the winch. It wasn't that bad. And now, like I said, I feel better because, guys, if you've got aftermarket equipment on your Jeep that could inhibit a repair, you need to try and undo it. You know, I mean, it's not fair for the technicians at the dealership to have to undo your aftermarket equipment that's not factory just so they can get to the point where they're ready to start working on it. You know, help them out a little bit, and maybe it'll put them in a better mood and they'll do a better job on your repair. Who knows? So at least that's out of the way and I don't have to worry about it. Now I just got to get scheduled to take this thing over there and get that oil leak fixed before it continues to get worse and it really starts marking my garage floor. So I'm glad that that part's done. As far as the green diesel engineering tune that I got for this truck is going, you know, I've got little over a full week of driving on it now. The only complaint that I have with it continues to be the below 15 mile per hour low speed transmission behavior, basically. Especially first thing in the morning when the engine is cold. You know, if you live in a neighborhood where you have to navigate some really low speed streets before you get to, you know, the main road, or like I said, in my case, I've got a lot of gravel that I have to drive before I get to the main road. So basically you're going really slow there for the first couple of minutes after you leave the house in the mornings. That's when you will really notice it the most. It's to me, it's just super aggravating because of the way that it behaves. They've got that baked in there on purpose. They said it was mainly for emissions. They're trying to warm the exhaust system up as quickly as possible in the morning. So that's why they've got it programmed to hold first gear and hold second gear as long as it will. But it's just, in practicality, it's super annoying. And I think that they are going to, I believe I saw them leave a comment on one of the forums that they're going to work on that and try to smooth that portion of the trans programming out. So maybe in the later versions of this tune, that will be not a problem anymore. It'll be hopefully gone away. But everything else about the tune is awesome. Once you're out on the highway, especially once the engine gets to operating temperature, at that point I really love the transmission tuning because it does, you know, hold those upper gears longer on the road, takes advantage of the torque, gives you better fuel economy. It just
it just drives better. It just flat out drives better. You can tell there's more power. My hand calculated fuel economy results so far have been between 5 and 7% increased. So you can expect to see definitely a little bit more fuel economy. But yeah, like I said, 5 to 7% gain is where I'm at right now. I was getting 21, like pretty much consistently, tank after tank after tank. I was getting about 21 on my normal commute. And now I'm seeing around 22 to 22 and a half. So definitely a small gain, but a gain nonetheless. You know, any gain in fuel economy is a good thing, especially right now with prices the way that they are. So, you know, and like I said, there's a lot of things that the GDE tune does that are behind the scenes that you don't really notice, but they're doing good things for you. Like for example, the way that it uses the low side of the EGR system more efficiently, which means that now you've got much cleaner air going back into your engine compared to the older generations of this engine. You're not going to soot the engine up as bad. The map sensor, EGR, the engine oil, you know, everything that's affected by the soot coming back into the engine through that EGR system, well, now it should be much improved because they're more efficiently using that low side EGR, which is taking the air downstream of the DPF and putting it back in the engine. So at that point, obviously the air is scrubbed, it's clean, and then it's going back in the engine. So it's a lot better, a lot healthier. You know, this tune should improve the longevity of this engine and just make it more reliable actually, and make it last longer. So you're getting a more reliable engine, more fuel economy, more power. I mean, it's awesome. I just hope that they do go ahead and iron out that little minor detail with the low speed transmission function. But other than that, I'm really loving the green diesel tuning so far. So I got the oil changed, got the winch off, so it's ready to go in for repair. I guess now I'm going to go down the hill, and we keep all of our salt, the community that uses this gravel lane, we keep all of our salt in a trash can down there to keep the weather off of it, and that trash can has deteriorated. I was going to go buy a metal trash can this time, but they're like $70 or $80 now, so I'm not doing that. So I got a new plastic trash can I got to go put down there to keep all of our community salt in for that steep paved portion of the hill. We take turns throwing salt on that in the wintertime. So I got to go do that, get some more projects done around here, but we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching.